Hi, going down, and welcome to the Reykjavík Grapevine Newscast number 120. Today is Monday the 26th of July 2021. My name is John Pearson. I'm a journalist at the Reykjavík Grapevine. And regular viewers will notice that I'm still not Vala Grettisson. Vala's on holiday with wonder dog Polly. They're off somewhere playing frisbee, gambling through the meadows, doing barbecue, I don't know what. But they're not here, and I am. So we've got some news headlines. Art is behind the camera as usual, and so we're going to try and stop the wheels falling off the news wagon and see what we do. And so let's have at it. Okay, so today Art and I have brought you to Perlan, which is a place just to the southeast of Reykjavík. It was a sort of hot water storage facility, and then in the 90s they transformed it into some sort of visitor centre. It's got exhibitions in it, it's got exhibits and various things. It's got a nice restaurant and a cafeteria that you can get a fantastic view from. And it's set on a hill called Öskjuhlíð. Which is all wooded, which is kind of unusual for Iceland, where centuries ago people chopped down a lot of the trees, but we've got some beautiful trees here. And you've got a great view here. You can see Esja, the mountain over there, which is just kind of a cloud on the top of it at the moment. Hallgrímskirkja over there, so you can see that's where the Reykjavík downtown is. And this is the airport, so not Keflavik Airport where you come into, but Reykjavík Airport, which is a little one. And then over there we have the volcano, but you can't see it. There's too much cloud and whatever, but it's over there somewhere in the cloud. So we're going to take a walk down through the forest and bring you some news headlines. As usual, I'm going to be looking at my phone, because if that's what the boss does, then that's good enough for me, and I can't remember a damn thing. So yeah, let's do it. Okay, so here we are in Öskjuhlíð, sorry, excuse my Icelandic pronunciation. Native speakers can correct me below if you feel like it. But this is the lovely wooded hillside that Perlan is on top of, and I'm just going to take a walk through it. And we're going to look at some headlines. So first up is COVID, unfortunately. We're back to talking about COVID again. So if you watched the newscast on last Monday, you'll remember that we were predicting that there were going to be increased restrictions at the border. And sure enough, about a couple of hours after we filmed the newscast, they introduced new restrictions at the border, which came into effect today, or come into effect today. So what that means is, previously people coming from abroad and visitors had, if they'd had COVID, or if they'd been fully vaccinated 14 days before their visit, then they would not have to bring a negative PCR test or a negative rapid antigen test. But that has changed. So now, regardless of your pre-COVID state, your COVID infection status prior, or regardless of your vaccination status, you now have to get a PCR test, negative PCR test, or a negative rapid antigen test within 72 hours of embarking on the first part of the leg of your journey to Iceland. So that's the change. Whether that will have any material effect on whether people come to Iceland or not, we don't know. All the other measures stay the same. So basically, if you've had COVID or you've been inoculated at least 14 days before you arrive, you then go straight into the country. If you haven't, then you have to do a test at the airport and a test and quarantine for 5 days, and then a second test at a local clinic. So that hasn't changed. So you can just get all of the details for that on covid.is. And then there have also been other changes in COVID regulations. So on Friday last week, we had 95 cases of domestic COVID in Iceland, which is the biggest number this year, in fact. So things are not going in the right direction, really, and we had more cases this weekend, more big numbers. So you can check at our website. We'll be doing an update today. I'll put the link below for what the latest COVID roundup is for today, being Monday. But on Friday we had 95, and the same day as that we had a government meeting, or the government met in Egilsstaðir in the east of the city, in the east of the country, and late afternoon they introduced some changes to the domestic regulations, which came into effect at midnight on Saturday, so just over 24 hours later after they decided it. And those changes are basically kind of a return to what we had before in many ways. We've only just been out of having COVID restrictions domestically for a month, so we did away with all of them at the end of June, and now they're back in very much the same sort of form. So what that means is public gatherings of no more than 200 or 100 in certain cases. People have to stay at least a metre apart or wear masks. Mask mandate in shops and on public transport. The restaurants and bars and clubs can stay open, but there has to be seated service, and the customers have to register their details, and I'm not quite sure how that works in a nightclub and seated service, but there you go. And they close at midnight with last orders at 11, so it's kind of back to where we were. So nightlife and restaurant life hasn't shut down, it's just become a bit more of a hassle. The gyms and spas and swimming pools are all able to stay open, but they almost have 75% of their normal capacity. So that's that. So not massive changes really from last time, but it's a bit of a wrench to have had no restrictions and then just only a month later go back to having restrictions again. And some of the restrictions are not that clear. There's been some noise today and over the weekend in the media about it not being really clear how the restrictions are defined in shops. There seems to be some idea that people have to judge for themselves whether a shop is well ventilated or not, which just seems a bit strange. So there are calls on the health minister to make it a bit more clear and to make the rules a bit sort of clearer and firmer. But other than that, I think people are just getting on with it. I saw a lot of people wearing masks on Saturday, even before the restrictions came in. So, you know, it is what it is, and we'll just get on with it. Opinions differed in the government as to what to do. So we have a left-green Prime Minister, but we also have the Independent Party, which is in coalition. Icelandic governments are nearly always coalition governments, so no one party has an overall rule. The Independent Party see themselves as a sort of business party, and they were concerned that increased border restrictions would lead to a further damage to the tourist trade. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. The tourist board certainly weren't happy with it. They said they were very disappointed. It's a pandemic, I mean, we're all a bit disappointed. But they were at least happy that rapid antigen tests are possible for visiting tourists, which are cheaper and easier to get than the PCR test. So that's at least something. Thorolfur Gunnarsson, our epidemiologist, on the other hand, wanted a 2-metre distance rule rather than one. Again, I'm not really sure how much difference that makes, but he's the epidemiologist, he would know better than me. So he didn't get what he wanted. So it's a compromise all round, really. It could have been a lot more draconian, in my view. Not that it should have been, but that it just could well have been. So here we are. And these measures are in place until at least the 13th of August, and we'll just have to see how the figures go, really. And as Velo would say, it is what it is. So what's up next? I'm just going to actually point to the lovely view. This is the forest at Öskjuhlíð. Again, my pronunciation of Icelandic is not fantastic. But I was asked in a previous video, in the comments, somebody asked me to speak Icelandic every once in a while. So my Icelandic is quite basic. But I can say, mér finnst gaman að vera í náttúrunni, which I think means I like to be in nature, but it's true. Icelandic speakers, please feel free to correct my pronunciation below. But here we are, in nature. And it's beautiful. This is why we come to Iceland, or at least for many of us. So next up, we don't really do volcano news here because we have a volcano newscast every Wednesday, and Alina will be bringing that to you in a couple of days. But we have a little bit of news about the emissions from the volcano. So on Monday last week, the last time we did the newscast, the government announced, the meteorological office announced a gas warning for Reykjavík. Now, this was apparently gas and particles that had come out of the volcano sometime before and gone away somewhere, and then been blown back. They'd settled over Reykjavík. So the volcano kicks out all sorts of things: carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide gas, but particularly sulfur dioxide, which gets into the air, combines with oxygen in the air and touches the water particles in the air and forms sulfuric acid, which sounds kind of scary. Maybe it is a little bit. Some of that goes up into the stratosphere, I'm told, and can actually block the sun's rays, which might explain why we're having a crappy summer here in Reykjavík. I don't know. It's a lot nicer in the east than the north, I know that much. Or it might not be. I'm not a meteorologist. Maybe a meteorologist can tell me in the comments about that mechanism, but the mechanism does exist. But the Met Office did issue a warning to people who might have pre-existing pulmonary conditions. I'm going to see if I can get down here without falling on my ass. Yeah. It's not kind of like stay indoors and tape up all the doors and windows. It's not that extreme, but they say don't exercise unless you have to. Try and breathe through your nose, not your mouth, which that's what your mum teaches you, isn't it? I don't know. Because it filters out the particles. And just don't do any kind of unnecessary sort of exertive work. It'll sit here for a while. It's quite a clear day today. As you saw when we were up on the top of Perlan, you could see quite a long way. But it comes and it goes, and it's just what we kind of have to live with. If we want a volcano, got to live with the consequences of a volcano. So the problem with it is really, though, that it can cause some symptoms which are like a bit like COVID symptoms, so coughing, headaches, soreness of throat and so on, which can be confused with COVID symptoms. So if you're in the Reykjavik area and you're coughing or you have a headache, don't assume that it's the volcano gas. You go and get yourself tested. Okay, so we have now cucumber season. Yeah, so if you were watching last week, you might remember that we talked about cucumber season. This is the time of year in Iceland, around July and August, when Alþingi goes away. There isn't really much political news, so journalists start looking around for things to write about, and they end up writing things like the yield of cucumbers or the price of cucumbers or whatever. So people are kind of looking for stories to write about. And this is why Valor goes away, because all the hard news is gone. Except at the moment, of course, we do have COVID as a hard news story. So there is that. Some of our viewers on YouTube have left comments very helpfully informing us that Norway and the Czech Republic also have cucumber season in their news cycles. And actually Germany does as well. So Germany has something which I think might be called Sauergurkenzeit, which means sour cucumber time, I believe. Again, my German isn't particularly good. Apologies to German viewers. But we have some Sauergurkenzeit news in that Reykjavik has crabs. So although it's a seaside town, you wouldn't expect to find crabs right inland in Reykjavik, but people have been finding them. They've been scuttling around people's porches and their gardens, and generally kind of like looking out of place. And nobody really knows why this is. They're too far from the sea to have walked there. So these crabs have turned up, bow crabs apparently. These have turned up inland. Local crustacean experts are scratching their heads, the fishmonger near where they were found. So there's nothing to do with him. He doesn't sell live crabs. So the crustacean experts suggest that it might be that a careless human hunter has caught a load of crabs and has dropped the basket or something, and they've all got away. Or it might be that seagulls are bringing them and dropping them, careless seagulls. I know that seagulls do pick crabs up sometimes. I saw it the other day, and to go to a great height and just drop the crab to crack the crab's shell so that they can eat it. So who knows? Crabs in downtown, in central urban Reykjavík. It's a mystery. Anyway, but that was a story in Fréttablaðið, one of our main national newspapers, and so I'm bringing it to you. Breaking crab news, as it were. So I think that is all the Icelandic news you probably have the patience for at the moment. It's certainly all that I've got prepared. So all you need to know, I think, about what's going on in Iceland at the moment. So it just remains for me to do a few little thank yous and notes. So thank you to Einstök, our beer, our sponsor, who sponsored this newscast. And I always say this, try the pale ale, I mean it. I'm going to keep saying it until they send me a case of the stuff. But it's really good. They have a bar on Reykjavík in downtown Reykjavík, which they've just opened, which is very nice. So you can go there if you're in Reykjavík and give it a go. We also have our High Five Club, which you may be aware of. It means that it's a membership club where if you join and just pay a couple of euros or something like, it's a very small amount, you can, Art's directing me in this direction, so we'll go in this direction. You can pay a small amount and you get advance access to bits of grapevine content, and you also get to be in touch with us through our Zoom meetings and so on. And that's very helpful to us at the moment. We also have our shop where you can get Volcano stuff, you can get cool Icelandic clothes, and you can get books and music and things like that. And the High Five Club and the shop are both really helpful to us at the moment as we still try and kind of emerge from the pandemic. It helps us carry on doing what we're doing. And yeah, Valor and Polly, I should tell you, they're not here, but they are busy. They're doing walking tours at the moment, as indeed this person is. They're doing walking tours at the moment. They went so well in July that we've put 4 more on in August, so check the link below. You can meet Valor and Polly and Bjartmar and go for a 2-hour stroll with them through Reykjavík, and they'll show you the sights. So yeah, that's all very cool. And lastly, our YouTube channel. So thanks for watching us. Do subscribe. We have lots of other things that we do. We don't just do newscasts like this. We do the Volcano update. We do the Icelandic perspective, which is basically Bjartmar and Valor just talking about stuff. But it's very interesting, more interesting than I've just described it as. And we also have the saga stories with Dr. Matthew Roby, which are fantastic narrated sagas, which are filmed in the places where the sagas take place. They're all very beautiful, and Art's responsible for all of them. They're all very beautiful. So yeah, subscribe. I hope you liked today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you've got your head around all the Icelandic news that you need to know. And yeah, we'll see you next week, I hope. Sjáumst.